Okay, welcome artists. My name is Dries and in this video we will cover the biggest mistakes emerging artists make when they're doing art commissions so that you can understand and avoid those mistakes so that you can get more commissions, which results in more money for your art and just simply lifting your art career up. Now, before we start, Frank Zappa once said, making art is making something out of nothing and selling it. Now, when it comes to art commissions, that is not completely true. Frank was right about almost everything except for that one when it comes to art commissions. A commission piece is making something out of the opinions of the commissioner and selling it. And so in that sentence, we already see the most important thing when it comes to commissioning art. And we will cover that in this video because if you don't know this, if you don't know that, you're gonna fail as an upcoming artist. There is no other way. But first, let's talk about my personal favorite mistake that artists make. So, some artists will ask a full payment before delivering the finished product. Now, the reason they do that is perhaps because they have some bad experience with art commissions. Perhaps they got a particular customer that didn't really pay them out or broke down the process right in the middle and whatever, you know? And that's a real problem. Why? If you're asking for a full payment, you're doing two things. One, you're distrusting the commissioner. The foundation of your relationship is a foundation of distrust. You cannot afford that. You want to build that relationship out. And so that's a real problem. But there's an even more bigger problem that's subtler. When you're asking for full payment in advance, what you're subtly saying is, I am afraid that I will not get money for my art. So one part of that is distrust. Another part of that is, I am afraid that if you stop this process, I will not be able to sell my art afterwards. You, commissioner, you're the only one who wants this piece. In other words, I, as an artist, I don't have a market for my art. You see, that's what you're literally saying there. What you're saying is that you don't have a market for your art because you're afraid that when the commissioner in the middle of the process stops for some reason, that you will not be able to sell it afterwards. Now, this is something you don't want to share. This is not the way you want to market yourself as an artist. And so you don't want to ask full payments, not only because of the distrusting, but also because you want to market yourself as somebody who has a market for their art. That's simple. Now, some artists will do the following thing. They will ask a 50% payment, then they will deliver some sketches, and then they discuss the sketches, color, if the commissioner is satisfied, and once the finished piece, then they want another 50% of the payment, so the full payment, and then they will finish the piece, and then they will deliver it. That is exactly the same. That is exactly the same. Some artists say, yeah, but I have a variation on that. Like, no, you don't. Like, psychologically, that is just the same. Psychologically, that is just the same, so you don't want to make that mistake. Ask a general rule somewhere in between 30 to 50% in advance, and then the rest when the product is finished and delivered. That's a good rule of thumb. Let's go to the second mistake that artists make. Now, this one comes more and more up the more internet becomes important, because internet kind of pushes us into that type of behavior, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. The second mistake that painters or artists in general, sculptors, installation makers, whatever, do is they automate the full process. They automate everything in a way that you will go to their website and then you will click on commission pieces and then you will see some examples and then you will fill out a form as a collector, like blah, 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 everything you want from the art, all aspects, color, composition, just everything that they have, everything. And then there will be some back and forth online, perhaps max. And then they pay 50%, get the piece, 50%, all of that stuff. And it's fully automated. It almost becomes a funnel, a sales funnel for commissioned art online. Now, this is a mistake. This is a mistake you cannot make. Why? Because you want to build out that relationship. Making art is a solo act. Making a commissioned piece is a relationship. As an artist, you have to understand that this commissioning art is the closest a collector can get towards the creative process, can get towards making art themselves. It's the closest they can get often. And so you want to create that experience in a way that they can be part of it. That they can be part of that real life experience of creating art. That's one of the things they want. A commissioner wants a piece, an investment or whatever, or something that they can hang in their home, and they also want the experience. You see, they want an original, authentic piece of art with an original, authentic experience. And the opposite of original and authentic is a one-size-fits-all experience. And so automating it fully online, because whatever, you have a website and you want to use it properly, like that's not the way to go. You want to build out that relationship. Remember the beginning of this video, a commissioned piece is making something out of the opinions of the commissioner. And so it is building that relationship. Like, the relationship is the key number one aspect of commissioning art. And it is within that relationship that you also expand the lifetime value of the customer. With an automated process, there's no customer that is going to come back. With an experience, there is a lifetime value of the customer that you have to understand if you really want to succeed in the art. Now, for the last mistake number 3. This is a typical one, especially for beginning artists, because in general, like me in the beginning, I knew nothing about business, like zero, and I didn't want to. Like it was not something that I thought I would be interested in, and so I didn't learn any of those things. And so the third mistake is a typical business mistake that artists make. Why? Because they just don't know. They just don't know. It's not a hard thing to, there's nothing really fundamentally hard about it. But if you don't know, you're not going to use it. The third mistake is that artists don't use upsales. They don't use the gift of extra fees. They don't. And you have to use that. Why? Because when a customer makes a decision to buy something, they already made that decision. Letting them at that moment buy more is much easier than letting them buy more a month later. When they already made the decision to buy, they are much more likely to buy more, especially when it makes sense and especially when they want it, which they already do. They just commission the piece. You see? So you have to use upsales and extra fees. And there are a lot of ways to do that. For example, or sometimes artists will just be a little bit too afraid to do that. For example, a collector wants to commission a piece and they want it by the end of the month. They want it by the end of the month. Like that's a rush deadline. That's a hard thing to do, especially because you have already all these things planned. 1 month is a very short time. And so inevitably you will need to rush. You will need to sacrifice spare time, time with your family or your children or your friends or whatever. You have to sacrifice the time to make it possible to deliver it in 1 month. And you might be an upcoming artist and thinking like, yeah, but this is my second commission. I cannot let this go. This is an important thing for me. And so what you're inevitably going to do is sacrifice the time and not charge for it. And that's a problem. You have to charge a deadline fee or a rush fee when that happens. And they will understand that. And they most likely will pay extra for it, which is just more income for you as an artist. You have to charge a deadline fee there. Not only will you have more money, but you will also become more professional and just come over as more professional as well. So that's a really crucial one. Here's another one, for example, like your traditional process. For example, you make the piece and you give 1 or 2 sketches, perhaps one, as an extra bonus for the collector. Some collectors will expect, especially when they sense and feel that you're new, that you're a beginning artist, they will expect all the pieces, all the sketches, all of them. In that sense, when the buying process is done, you at that moment, way before the piece is finished, have to state, if you want all the sketches, it's an extra fee. All the sketches will cost this much more points. And so that's essential. Using those extra fees, those upsale opportunities, is essential to really get the financial benefit that you deserve as an artist. You see, like, for example, the rush deadline, 1 month, that means literally that you, at the end of the week, are gonna cry because you sacrifice so much, because you work all those late hours. You're gonna cry. And they need to pay for your tears. It's that simple. Good art, great art, is blood, sweat, and tears. And blood, sweat, and tears cost money. It's that simple. So yeah, that's about it. And I hope you can do some stuff with this and avoid these mistakes. Think about them. Internalize them, habitualize them, and yeah, if you want more advice on the business side of art, make sure you subscribe. See you next time. Ciao.